All right, folks, so as you know, it's 9 o'clock, and we have a lot of news coming up on 11Alive News Prime Time.
Just days after he was released from Emory, former President Jimmy Carter is back in the hospital tonight.
And a Georgia case goes before the U.S. Supreme Court. Why the state is trying to prevent the laws from going online.
11Alive News Prime Time on the ATL starts now.
Welcome to 11Alive News Prime Time on the ATL. I'm Ron Jones.
And I'm Aisha Howard. We are also streaming right now. Join us on the 11Alive YouTube channel.
Former President Jimmy Carter is back in the hospital. The Carter Center confirms that he was admitted to Phoebe Sumter Medical Center in Americus over the weekend as he battles a urinary tract infection. President Carter, as you know, is 95 years old. You'll remember he was released from Emory Hospital just last week. He had a successful surgery to relieve a brain bleed caused by several recent falls.
The Carter Center released this statement today saying President Carter is feeling better and looks forward to returning home soon. He had hoped to return to teaching Sunday school at his home church there in Plains, Georgia this Sunday. But according to the Maranatha Baptist Church website, he is not expected to teach on either December 8th nor on December 22nd. We're going to keep you updated on his condition on the 11Alive app.
Well, the City of Atlanta report now shows 19 homeless people have died from hypothermia between January 2017 and 2019.
Very startling numbers here. So the majority, 18 of those, died after Peachtree Pine closed its doors a couple of years ago. Elwin Lopez got a hold of that internal report and joins us from the newsroom.
Yeah, Aisha, and this report was done months ago, was submitted to the Deputy COO's office in April, and yet the city still seems to be struggling to find a solution for this. Now, Peachtree Pine was Atlanta's largest homeless shelter. It closed down in 2017. Now, that closure came after years of politics and lawsuits. It was considered a low-barrier shelter with 800 beds. Now, I spoke to council member Antonio Brown, who was once homeless himself, and he told me today he read the internal report and agrees that more needs to be done to address the issue.
This is bound to happen. This will continue to happen until we can address this problem and come up with a permanent solution around the issue of deaths within homelessness, within hypothermia that homeless folks face every day that they're on the streets in the cold.
And another important thing to point out about this report is that at least one of the deaths occurred as early as the end of October. Now, the report suggesting that outreach to homeless individuals on the likelihood of freezing to death in November is crucial.
I'm meteorologist Chris Holcomb from the 11Alive Storm Trackers, and we have some really cold air in place right now. Take a look at this. 38 degrees outside. We're at 37 in Duluth, 36 in Carrollton, and these temperatures feel even colder when you factor in the wind. It makes it feel like it's in the 20s right now. So the cold air is in place. We still have some wind out there, but it's not going to be as blustery tonight or as blustery tomorrow. Still just some breezes around, but just not as windy. So look what happens to these temperatures. They will continue to fall. We're at 37 right now. They'll keep moving down to right around the freezing mark early in the morning. I know this shows 33 at 7 o'clock, but I do think in between these hours here, it'll drop to 32 for our official low temperature tomorrow morning. So it is going to be freezing in the morning when many folks head out. We will see dry weather conditions for the next few days and some slow warming, but also a little bit of rain is going to start moving our way. We'll talk more about that when you'll see those rain chances going up in just a few minutes.
Now to another big developing story. Reports tonight that the governor will announce his choice for Georgia's U.S. Senate on Wednesday. Sources say businesswoman Kelly Loeffler is his pick for senior Senator Johnny Isakson's seat. While she may be unknown to voters, Loeffler has been a very active donor to Republican and a few Democratic causes. But Governor Kemp would be appointing her over objections from some hardline Republicans. Doug Richards has more on Loeffler's background.
Her public face is that of an owner of Atlanta's professional women's basketball team. Kelly Loeffler's political face is backstage in 144 donations listed on the Federal Election Commission's website. More than $600,000 just since the start of last year, almost all of them to Republican causes. After growing up on a family farm in Illinois, Loeffler's career in the financial industry appeared to take off after she got a job at a company called Intercontinental Exchange. Then she married its CEO, Jeff Sprecher. In 2013, Sprecher's company bought the company that owns the New York Stock Exchange. Wallmine.com now lists Sprecker's net worth at least $500 million, which means, as a politician, his wife Loeffler may have the means to finance a statewide election.
If you can kickstart your own campaign by putting in hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, then you're one step ahead.
Just ask a millionaire candidate turned Senator David Perdue. Kelly Loeffler became co-owner of the WNBA Atlanta Dream. This photo of Loeffler and Democrat Stacey Abrams has been making the rounds because the team reportedly employed Abrams' law firm. And Loeffler's campaign contributions have included Georgia Democrats, Congressman David Scott, former Congressman Jim Marshall, former Congressman John Barrow, plus from Iowa, Democratic former U.S. Senator Tom Harkin.
I don't think it's an ideological thing. I think they look at it as a business transaction.
Former State Representative Doug Teeper says wealthy political donors are frequently at least a little bipartisan.
You should not be surprised to see that she gave money to Democrats as well, just like President Trump did for many years.
So today, some conservatives from inside and outside Georgia have been going after Governor Kemp on social media for planning to name Loeffler to that Senate seat. Many others have actually come to his defense as we wait for that formal announcement a little bit later this week, Ron.
Well, the man authorities long believed is responsible for the Atlanta child murders is now staying in prison. Wayne Williams has been called the prime suspect in the killings of 29 children in the late 1970s and early 80s. He is currently serving 2 life sentences for the deaths of 2 adults in 1982, but he has never been tried for any of the child murders. According to a letter on November 20th, the Georgia Board of Pardons and Paroles voted on denying Williams' appeal for parole. The reason given, Williams has served, quote, an insufficient amount of time given the nature and circumstances of his crimes. His next chance for parole will be 2027. You're going to find a lot more on the background on the Atlanta child murders and the recent re-examination of the case on 11Alive.com.
Well, he was a former assistant police chief, a deacon, a school board member, a husband, and a father, a pillar in his community. Today, the pews were packed as dozens paid their respects to Almond Turner. Turner gave 45 years to the Covington Police Department, becoming the highest-ranking African-American in the force, retiring as an assistant police chief. Today, loved ones taking a moment to reflect on his legacy.
Let me remind you, yes, he is that fantastic father. Yes, he is that fabulous husband. Yes, Uncle Mike, he is that good of a brother. Yes, he is that good of a grandfather. Yes, he is a good man.
Turner was murdered at a family gathering in Mississippi. His nephew is accused of shooting and killing him, and his nephew is now in jail. Turner leaves behind his wife, 3 kids, and several grandchildren.
All right, straight ahead. The state is trying to keep its laws off the internet, and today this case went before the U.S. Supreme Court.
Chief Meteorologist Chris Holcomb is live on Facebook right now taking your weather questions. You can join the conversation right now on his Facebook page. We're going to catch up with him a little bit later after the break.
And don't forget, folks, we are streaming right now on 11Alive's YouTube channel. Subscribe and join the conversation in the community section. More 11Alive news primetime after the break. All right, welcome back, everyone. Today, the U.S. Supreme Court heard oral arguments from the state of Georgia and from a man who dared to publish Georgia's law books online for free.
The General Assembly told the Supreme Court the state's law books are protected by federal copyright. The defendant argued the law is owned by all of us.
Well, Reveal investigator Brendan Keefe was one of the first to report on this copyright fight in this Reveal investigation.
These are the Georgians who make the law, but do they own it? The General Assembly is suing this man in federal court because he dared to publish all 50 volumes of Georgia law online for free.
America is based on the idea of an informed citizenry because ignorance of the law is no excuse. If you don't know what the law is, you can't obey it, but also you can't change it.
Carl Malamud's publicresource.org is the defendant in the copyright infringement lawsuit filed by the General Assembly.
In America, the law isn't owned by governments, it's owned by the people, because it's the people that give authority to the government to operate. The people own copyright on the law.
These 50 volumes make up the OCGA, the official Code of Georgia Annotated. The state's official law books contain all the legislative acts, plus public court cases and attorney general opinions. Lawmakers claim putting those annotations together amounts to a creative work, one the state has copyrighted.
There's only one law in Georgia. It's the official Code of Georgia Annotated. Every act in the Georgia Assembly begins an act to amend the official Code of Georgia Annotated.
The 11Alive investigators asked to inspect the law books under a measure contained within them, Georgia's Open Records Act. The Legislative Council denied our request, suggesting the law is available at many libraries. We had trouble finding the law at 3 local branches, including the Central Library in Georgia's capital city. There's a set at the Public Law Library directly across from the state capitol, but cameras aren't allowed inside without an order signed by a judge. Atlanta's main library keeps its copies out of sight in a back room, where we had to request special access to photograph the volumes, some 6 years out of date.
It just doesn't make sense in an internet era to say you need to travel 30 miles to the county seat to look at the 50 volumes of paper, and that somehow is making the law accessible to you. It isn't.
The Legislative Council wrote we could purchase the law for $378 like anyone else, but warned us not to publish Georgia laws on 11alive.com. The OCGA is, quote, copyrighted by the state of Georgia and shall not be republished without permission. No such permission is granted here.
That response reflects every attempt we've made to get documents from state legislators. Transparency means we get to see government documents from every agency, from the dog catcher to the governor. But the Legislative Council always replies, your request is denied. A lack of transparency that allows the legislature to do deals under the table, because you and I aren't allowed to see the documents. Were you aware the General Assembly is exempt from the Open Records Act?
I was not, no.
Were you aware that the General Assembly is exempt from the Open Records Act?
I did not know that.
But ask to see any documents from a legislator and you'll hear from their lawyer, a lawyer you're paying. That's right, your taxes pay the Legislative Council $125,000 a year so he can turn around and deny your request to see the people's records.
What is this about? About transparency, like open records, things like that.
I'd rather not. Part of my concern is I'm a governor's floor leader, and so I don't want to. I want to make sure that I'm answering questions consistent with what the administration would want me to, and since I don't know what the question, if you want to give me the questions, I'll be happy to.
So you want the questions in advance?
Here's how lawmakers avoid questions about their documents. The General Assembly is not an agency under its own Open Records Act. The legislature let itself off on a technicality one few lawmakers are interested in fixing.
If it ever came up for a vote that the General Assembly would be subject to the Open Records Act, would you be in favor of that?
I just have to look at the legislation. You know, the devil is in the details. If you'll just give me the...
I just want to ask you about transparency in general.
If you want to give me the topic matter, I'll be glad to. Unfortunately, I got to run in here as well.
Authored to be full transparency, especially when it comes to the people who elected you?
You know, I think you got a fine line there. I don't have an easy answer for that.
Neither does the Legislative Council. All communications between this office and lawmakers are confidential by state law.
Exactly what you're taking a picture for.
This is a public building, isn't it?
Yeah.
When they saw our cameras, Legislative Council staff was sure to draw the blinds to prevent the public from seeing the keeper and defender of the legislature's secrets.
It's the people that own the law. And it's the people that own the legislature. We are all servants of the people when we are in public service, and we just can't forget that.
Brendan and 11Alive filed a friend of the court brief with the U.S. Supreme Court, arguing that the law is not as accessible as the state of Georgia claims it is. The Supreme Court is expected to make a ruling in this case by the spring.
Hey everybody, I'm meteorologist Chris Holcomb from the 11Alive Storm Trackers. I know this may look a little bit different to you tonight because you're probably thinking, why is this phone sticking up in the middle of the camera? Well, that's because right now, during the newscast, I'm also doing a Facebook Live, and I'm sitting here talking with some of our viewers, like Kenny Edmondson saying hello from Milner. We also have Melissa Sabarin saying, Chris, are we going to get any snow? Patty Timmons says, looking awesome, Chris. Adrian Palmetier says, grew up in the Maritimes. Cool. Melissa says, keep the snow to the north. And then Dale Klaus is saying hello as well. So I'm doing a Facebook Live at the same time that I'm on with you. So feel free to go to my Facebook page if you have any questions for me. And when I get finished with this weather forecast here, I'll go back to Facebook Live to answer any of your questions that you have going on. So let's take a look at what's going on out there right now. Here's a look at radar where we do not have any rain in our area right now. It is very dry. And if you want to find any precip, you have to go way up to the north. That's where we have that precip that is up to the north and to the east. You can see up near New York, they're dealing with snow today. They've had snow up in the Boston area. Mid-Atlantic region has some rain, a little bit of that snow back in parts of West Virginia as well. We don't have any of that going on here, but we have plenty of cold air in place. We're in the upper 30s right now. 38 degrees is our temperature right now in Atlanta. 37 in Duluth and in Athens, 36 in Carrollton. Still a couple of 40s out there, like in Peachtree City, it's 41. Rome is at 40 degrees. But if you've been outside, you know it feels a lot colder because we still have the wind. We have winds right now at making it feel like it's 28 degrees. It feels like freezing in Athens, feels like 27 in Duluth. So with that wind, it makes it feel a lot colder. And we've had a lot of questions on my Facebook Live that I'm doing right now. One of the questions is, Chris, when is this wind going to die down? Still pretty windy out there right now. We have winds in Atlanta at 20 miles an hour, 14-mile-an-hour winds in Peachtree City, and also in Duluth. Here's a look at the wind forecast. Now, we talk about sustained winds, which is what we're showing here, which tonight, excuse me, will be about 10 to 15 miles an hour, and toward tomorrow morning as well. And the gusts will be a little bit higher than that. But then during the day, we're going to see those winds come down just a little bit. Not as blustery as it was today. Today's peak wind gust was 33 miles an hour. I don't think we'll have winds that strong tomorrow, but we'll just call it breezy during the day tomorrow. And then the temperatures will be cold. We're going to go from those mid-30s down into the lower 30s here by tomorrow morning. I really think that most of us will wake up to temperatures that'll be around the freezing mark. Then we get up to 51 in the afternoon. We'll give that a 9 on the wasometer. Now, here's a look at that 7-day outlook. We're going to watch those temperatures as they go up during the day to about 51 degrees. We'll be at 58 on Wednesday, 61 on Thursday with mostly sunny skies. So Wednesday and Thursday, the best days of the week, those will be 10s on the wasometer. Then on Friday for the Canathon, we will have a few showers around. It is not going to be a washout. Still come out to the Canathon, just a few showers here and there. Dry Saturday, and then the daytime hours on Sunday will be dry with a chance for rain late Sunday, and then into Monday we'll have some of those showers with high temperatures near 64 degrees. I'm going to get back to my Facebook Live now and answer some of those questions.
All right, so 2020 is coming up so fast. Maybe you're looking to buy a new car. A local expert has some pro tips that could help you get a new ride at the fraction of the cost.
Hi, I'm Faye Sykes. And here are a few pro tips in not overpaying for a car. Tip number 1, flexibility. When you're looking at buying a car, a lot of times it's actually better to buy a brand new car to have more flexibility in the cost. With a used car, they already have a set price that's already established. But with a brand new car, there might be dealer incentives, dealer rebates. Tip number 2, getting the most with your credit. If you have not so great credit, if you purchase a brand new car, you might get a much better interest rate than with a used car. With a used car, you're typically going to be paying 3 to 10% more. Tip number 3, researching the underlying costs. You know, a lot of times people look at the cost of the particular car, but they do not take into consideration the cost of insurance, the cost of the mechanics, and the cost of gas. A lot of people might not realize that a Mercedes oil change might be $160 to $180, where a regular oil change might be $30 or $40. Tip number 4, online versus on the lot. Let's say that you've done your due diligence, you figured out what kind of car that you want. You can actually go on to like cars.com or Auto Trader, and it'll actually get emailed out to multiple dealerships on your behalf, and then they in turn come back and fight over you to make you a client. I've actually purchased 2 cars this way. So I bought a Hyundai Santa Fe, and the owner came out really grumpy because I did my homework ahead of time, spoke to multiple dealerships, and I knew I was going to get the best price. He's like, I didn't make any money. He goes, you better go enjoy.
You can check out more pro tips by going to youtube.com/11alive.